Go.
Hi, my name is Bill Sokol. I own the Sokol Law Firm. The Sokol Law Firm is a real estate law firm. We are based in Haddonfield, New Jersey. And for the last 8 or 9 years, we have been specializing in distressed real estate. More specifically, we've been specializing in handling short sales on behalf of sellers and their listing agents. I usually break these presentations down into 3 main sections. The first section is just an introduction to my firm, who we are, how we work, what our procedures are, and some basic information regarding short sales, what they are and how they work. After we finish the introduction, I will go over some helpful tips in listing and working on short sales. And I will go over some common misconceptions that both homeowners and agents have when it comes to short sales. The third thing I'm going to go over are more complex legal issues regarding short sales, specifically how they interact with bankruptcy and what happens with the IRS when the short sale is complete. So let's start with the first section, an introduction and some short sale basics. I mentioned earlier we were a full-service real estate law firm. We are celebrating our 10-year anniversary. Actually, 10-year anniversary was last year, so we're working on almost our 11th. And as a real estate law firm, we represent buyers and sellers in regular real estate transactions. We review contracts, prepare deeds, go to settlement. But as I mentioned earlier, what we're really known for is handling short sales. And since we've been focusing on short sales, we have closed thousands of transactions across the states of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, the 2 states that I'm licensed to practice law in. So why would anybody use an attorney? Why am I here? Right? Why can't you guys just do your own short sales? I'm sure you all can. I mean, you're all more than intelligent enough to handle a short sale. It's not about brains though, it's about time. And it's about practicing law and things you should seek to avoid as an agent. Short sales are very time intensive. If anyone in here has ever done one before, you know that you may be sitting on hold with Bank of America for an hour only to get hung up on. Or to get the same update you got 2 weeks ago when you called. And then you have to call back and waste another hour. Most agents' time is better spent listing houses and showing houses, right? That's how you get paid. Don't sit on the phone for hours. I have 7 employees. Let them sit on the phone for hours. You also get to avoid the unauthorized practice of law by having a law firm or an attorney represent your seller in a short sale. I'm not saying per se, especially since I'm on camera, that processing short sales is practicing law. But what happens when your client asks, should I stop paying my mortgage? What happens when the client asks, am I going to be responsible for anything? And what happens when the client asks, am I going to be responsible for paying the IRS? The answers to those questions are bordering on practicing law. And if you answer them wrong, you're going to get sued. I did a presentation for another office, local office down the shore, and they were telling a story of a broker who was sued because he never advised the homeowner on the tax implications of doing a short sale. And he was left with a hefty IRS tax bill. The problem is if that broker had given advice, he may be also in trouble too, right? Because it's practicing law. So having an attorney involved can take that liability burden off of your shoulders. Another reason you should use an attorney is expertise. Like I said, everyone in here can do their own short sales. But the expertise that comes with doing hundreds and thousands of transactions gives you a much better chance of success. There are multiple different types of mortgages, multiple mortgage companies, multiple types of liens. Has anyone here ever negotiated a DIFUS lien or a New Jersey State unemployment lien? These are things that pop up consistently on short sales. HOA liens, second mortgages, home equity lines. These are complex title issues that need to be resolved in a short sale, something we have a great amount of experience in doing. And the best reason why you should use an attorney, especially our office, is that there's no charge for the service. We don't charge the homeowner to represent them in a short sale. We don't charge the realtors. We don't charge the buyers. We don't try and take money from the seller. A lot of times sellers get relocation money in a short sale. We don't try and take that. My fee is paid by the short sale bank it comes out of the proceeds, just like the commission does, and I never ask anybody else for money. So some basic information regarding short sales. This page may be a little too basic, but still worth going over. So what is a short sale? 2 things are needed for a short sale situation to exist. The first thing you need is a property that is underwater, or has negative equity, however you want to explain it. And then you need a homeowner who doesn't have any money, right? If the property has equity, it's not a short sale. You just sell it in profit. If the property has no equity and the homeowner has money, you just sell it and bring a check. You need both. Underwater property, homeowner without the funds. That's what creates a short sale situation. What we do is we ask our listing agent partners to go out and sell the home as they would any other home, sell it for fair market value or as much as you can. And once you have an offer on that property, once the seller has accepted an offer and we're under contract, my office will submit that to the seller's mortgage company and lien holders. We will ask them to settle for less than full balance, allow us to go to closing, and in most cases, our homeowner is off the hook for any remaining debt. There are many different types of short sales. I kind of touched on this when I was mentioning the expertise. Why use an attorney? Because of expertise, right? And I think that's going to come true when you look at the different types of short sales and the different quirks that are involved with each. So the first type of short sale you're going to come across are FHA short sales. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about the buyer's loan, right? I'm talking about our loan, the seller's loan, the one I'm shorting, right? If our client is trying to do a short sale on an FHA loan, these are some interesting facts that you need to be aware of. The first fact is that under the FHA guidelines for short sales and distressed property, our client must apply for a loan modification before they can do a short sale. I know that says home retention, but what I'm really referring to is a loan modification. The bank is required to run them through the loan modification process because the federal government who insures these loans wants them in the house. They don't want a short sale right away. If there's a short sale, the government's got to pay a claim on that insurance policy, right? HUD, Housing and Urban Development. They don't want to do that, so they want the homeowner evaluated for a loan modification first. And guess what? If the homeowner's accepted for it, there's a chance that they're never able to do a short sale. I've had short sales where I've worked on them. You've gone out and listed the home, we have a buyer, I submit it to the mortgage company comes back 2 or 3 months later and says, sorry, you're not able to do a short sale because the homeowner's been approved for a loan modification. Homeowner doesn't want one. In fact, they don't even live there anymore. How do I explain that to everybody? Right? You're going to have 2 agents, a buyer, and a seller that are all going to be upset. And the only thing I can tell them is because that's what the government requires. There's no other explanation. If Wells Fargo wants to get a claim paid on this short sale or foreclosure, they have to follow those guidelines. And the guidelines say loan modification first. You have to be denied for it before you can proceed with a short sale. Another interesting fact about FHA short sales is that if our clients have more than $5,000 in assets in checking, savings accounts, and so on that are submitted as part of the short sale process, the bank will demand a contribution from them as a condition of doing the short sale. The contribution amount will be 20% of the excess over $5,000. So for example, if our client has $10,000 in a checking account, in order to do that short sale, they will have to bring $1,000 to the table. Not the end of the world, but still something we want to prep our clients for in the event they have an FHA short sale and more than $5,000 in the bank. Sure.
Not to interrupt you, but
No,
how far back will they check?
2 months.
Okay.
I'm only asking for 2 months of bank statements when I'm doing my short sales. So unless the bank happens to ask for more, which would be rare, it's just the 2 most recent months.
Okay.
What is the percentage? I mean, are we talking a percentage of the value of the property to the loan, or the loan value that's going to be shortened?
Regarding the contribution amount,
Yes.
That's actually completely irrelevant. We're talking about how much money the seller actually has in their bank account. So if you're doing a short sale with my office as an FHA loan, and you send me a bank statement with $10,000 in, again, use a $10,000 example, they're going to demand 20% of the excess over $5,000. So the excess over $5,000 in your case would be $5,000. 20% of that is $1,000. And so the next thing we need to know about FHA short sales is how seller assists for closing costs work. We were talking about this a little bit before the presentation started. So a lot of times you're going to run across buyers who need closing cost assistance, which is fine, but FHA short sales have special rules. The maximum seller assist on an FHA short sale is 1%. And that is only if the buyer is also using an FHA loan. So if I'm working on an FHA short sale for one of our clients, and the buyer wants a seller assist, he has to be using an FHA loan, and it has to be capped at 1%, or there's nothing. Now, with FHA loans, anytime I try to go beyond these guidelines and ask the bank to bend the rules, it's something called a variance, right? You can ask for a variance from this 1% rule. So I'd be lying if I told you I'd never gotten more than 1%. I have. But the timing involved now to ask the government for a variance, you're pushing months now. You're adding extra months into the process. It's a better practice just to limit it to 1% from the outset. This way nobody gets disappointed if the variance doesn't get approved. Another interesting fact about FHA short sales is that they have something called a tiered net requirement. For the purposes of being basic, for purposes of this presentation, the minimum net requirement for your FHA short sales is going to be 88%. So what that means is if we have an FHA short sale and the bank appraises it, the seller's bank appraises it at $100,000. After everything is said and done, after you're paid, I'm paid, the taxes are paid, the bank needs $88,000 in their hands. Doesn't give us much wiggle room, does it? I mean, think about it. You take the $100,000, you take out 6% for your commission. Now we're at 94. Let's say another 2% for attorney's fees, title fees, and real estate taxes. Or you're looking at now, what are you at, 92%, right? So now you're only 4% to play with. And that's assuming the house appraises for 100 and the buyer we found is paying 100. What happens if the house appraises for 100, but the buyer that we found is paying 92? It's not going to work, right? They're not going to get their 88% net. Now, this is not something we'll generally know going into the short sale. It's something that will happen during the short sale, but it's an interesting fact that I want everybody to be aware of when it comes to how FHA approves their short sales and required net. Another type of short sale you're going to run into is conventional. So before we talk about conventional short sales, I want to break conventional down into two separate categories. You'll see up there GSE and non-GSE. And what GSE stands for is government-sponsored enterprise. And what I really mean is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Everybody's heard of them before, right? They own or insure most of the mortgages in this country. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, or GSE short sales, have written rules just like FHA. So the banks who are servicing these, and servicing companies who are servicing these loans have rules to follow. And we can all learn these rules, we can read about these rules. The non-GSE loans have no rules. A lot of times you'll never even know who actually owns those mortgages. Could be a hedge fund, could be packaged in a bundle of securities, could be someone in this room. No written rules regarding how short sales are processed. That can actually be a benefit or a disadvantage. Sometimes when you're dealing with those privately held loans, or non-GSE loans, the owner is willing to get rid of it for next to nothing, and they approve it. It can also count against us, and because there are really no rules, they don't want to play ball and do a short sale at all, and they can deny it generally for any reason they want. With conventional mortgage, whether GSE or non-GSE, there's no home retention requirement, generally no home retention requirement like there is with FHA. If you recall, I said on FHA short sales you have to apply for a loan modification first. Not true with conventional short sales. There's also a higher seller assist cap for the closing costs. Remember, FHA was 1% and only if the buyer was also FHA. With conventional short sales, it's usually capped at 3%. And there's no requirement on the buyer's financing. Now again, I'd be lying if I said I've never gotten more than 3. I'm sure I've gotten 4%, 5%, and 6% seller assist. But again, at a cost, at a fight, and at adding months to the process. I think it's a better procedure, given how complex and difficult short sales can be, is to just cap it at 3%. This way nobody gets disappointed if they cut it from 6. And again, going back to FHA, you may remember there was an 88% net requirement. You don't know the net generally in a conventional loan short sale. They won't disclose that number.
Is that based on what was owed on the property or what's owed on the property plus all the other fees that they're putting on top for foreclosure?
So the amount, a lot of people will think that the amount the person owes on their mortgages is important to the short sale. And look, maybe it is, but I've done thousands of short sales. I've never had one turned down because the homeowner owes too much money. I've done short sales where the homeowner owed $1.4 million and the bank accepted $400,000. It's $1 million in forgiven debt. So I really can't say with certainty that the amount somebody owes is that important in a short sale. there's a much more important number is how the bank values the house. And I'm going to go over that soon, because in every short sale, the bank values the house. Sometimes they'll have an appraisal done, sometimes they'll have something called a broker price opinion or BPO done, but they're sending somebody to that house to assign a value to it. That's the number they're going to base their short sale approval off of, not how much the homeowner
And
owes.
can we fight those numbers? Like, if
We-
we
we-
think the appraisal's wrong?
Yeah, I mean, we'd love not to. I mean, I never want to be in a defensive position on a short sale. I always want to be on the offensive. You know, a lot of times a realtor, when they're sending over the file, will send comps and a CMA. And while I'm happy that they went through the extra work, I don't need them. I don't want them, right? Because if I need those comps, if I need that CMA, now I'm on the defensive because there's a problem with the value and I'm fighting the bank on it. But yes, I mean, there are generally procedures for value disputes. They differ from FHA to Fannie Mae to non-Fannie Mae. And, you know, we do them with varying degrees of success. Absolutely. VA short sales. Some interesting facts regarding VA short sales. One is that it's also known as a compromise sale. That's the VA term. They will call these things compromise sales. Again, nothing earth-shattering, but something you may want to know when you're dealing with a VA short sale client. Another interesting fact, and again, another interesting reason why you want an attorney involved, is so you can advise the VA client that they're going to lose their entitlement benefits. Now, a lot of people, unless you have a VA loan or you're a veteran, they don't know what that means. What it means is that our clients doing a VA short sale are never getting a VA loan again, unless they reimburse the VA for the money they paid to the bank. So in a VA loan, it's insured, by the government, like FHA. If there's a short sale, the VA reimburses the bank. The homeowner cannot take another VA loan out again unless the entitlement is brought current, which nobody generally wants to do. So something we should certainly warn our VA clients on, and something I will definitely do during my consultations with those clients. And I'm going to get over my procedure right now, actually. So, don't get me wrong. I'll take short sales any way they come in. You know, I have agents who send me half-executed contracts and nothing else, and then I go on a treasure hunt for everything else. Right? I got to track everyone down to sign it and date it, and then collect all the documents. And I'll still take those files. But if you follow this procedure, you're going to have a much better chance of getting to the closing table. Much better. Step number one. I want to talk to your sellers. It's free consultation. All they have to do is call my office and schedule it, or you can send me an email, Bill, call Jim Smith, 555-1212. We'll schedule it, I'll talk to them, and I will take notes. These phone calls have many purposes. One purpose is for me to give legal advice. I don't want anyone walking into a short sale without knowing the legal issues that are involved. It protects me, it protects you, it protects them. I'm also looking for red flags. I'm also looking for a reason why their short sale is not going to work. For example, if I have a consultation and I find out that it's because of a divorce situation and the ex-spouse has moved to California and married a movie producer, that's going to be a problem. Because how am I going to get that ex-spouse's tax returns and bank statements and pay stubs with the millions of dollars in them now? They're never going to give them to me. That file's never going to work. So I'm looking for red flags like that, like an uncooperative spouse or a lien that I know can't be resolved. Finally, these consultations are important because I want them to feel comfortable with us as a team. I want to let them know that I'm working on their behalf at no charge, and I want them to know that we're working together to try and achieve the best possible result for them during their distress situation. After that phone call takes place, all I need my agent partners to do is go out and list and sell the house. And do it like any other piece of real estate, right? When you're listing a home, what's your goal? To sell it for as much as possible, right? I mean, it makes your client happy, increases your commission. Well, the same is true in a short sale. Just because the homeowner is not getting any proceeds doesn't mean we shouldn't sell it for a maximum amount. And the reason that's important is because the bank's not going to take less, right? They want fair market value or something close to it. So listing the property and selling it for fair market value is extremely, extremely important. Remember, that BPO or appraisal they're going to do, that's the life or death of our short sale. Once you have a fair market value offer or something close to it, and the homeowners agree to accept it, you're going to sign contracts. You're going to attach my addendum to those contracts. If you don't have it, anybody in my office can send it to you at any time. Myself, my staff, we always have it. That addendum contains some key provisions to protect us and the seller in the transaction. Once we have the contract from you guys, from you ladies and gentlemen. We will collect what we need from the homeowner. We will send everything into their mortgage companies, and we will work the file until it's concluded. So I want to go over some helpful tips. Helpful tips in listing and working on short sales. And I mentioned Amber Shaw from my office, the wonderful Amber Shaw, when she watches this video. She came up with a lot of these tips with me. She worked on this presentation with me, so a lot of these are from her. And in my opinion, she's the best short sale negotiator in the country. Helpful tips from sellers. Don't take listings from uncooperative sellers. Rule number one, if you get a hint at the listing appointment that this seller is not going to cooperate, whether intentionally or unintentionally, maybe they don't have access to scanning and faxing, or maybe they don't want to do paperwork. Not going to work. Short sales are extremely document intensive, and you need things fast. So if they're not willing to take the effort to complete the paperwork and get it to me as quickly as possible, the short sale is never going to work. I'm not lying. I have many short sales that fall apart because of my own clients. We have to send second, third, and fourth requests. Where's our documents? Where's our paperwork? Nothing comes. We have to withdraw from that file and cancel it because there's nothing we can do. Some people don't even know they're not being cooperative, such as the divorce situation. You may go on a listing appointment, and there may be a spouse at the home, and I mentioned earlier an ex-spouse who's out of the home. And they may say to you, well, we're divorced, and he has nothing to do with the house anymore. Well, guess what? If he's still a borrower on that loan, he has a lot to do with the house. Doesn't matter if there's a divorce decree that says the property's hers. Doesn't matter if they did a quitclaim deed removing him from title. He is still responsible for the debt on that mortgage if he was a borrower. And if he's a borrower, he's going to have to complete the entire short sale package and supply all the financial documentation. If she or he says, my ex-spouse will never talk to any of us, you can't take the listing. It's never going to work. You need all borrowers on title, all borrowers on the loan to cooperate with the short sale, or there can't be a short sale.
If the loan is under one person, but they are divorced, do we still have to get the spouse involved?
No. So we're concerned with borrowers. If in that situation where there's a divorce decree awarding one spouse the property, a quitclaim deed transferring title to one spouse, and the spouse who's not on the deed is not on the loan, then no, they don't exist for purposes of the short sale.
If they're on the deed, though?
If they're on the deed, then they would need to sign the contract, the listing agreement, the contract, and then the deed at the end if we're successful, but they won't need to supply the short sale paperwork.
Does your office maintain a line of communication with the realtor?
Of course.
And like, if you're sending out a request for documentation, and does the realtor know that, or you ask him to get it for you, that he can go knock on the door and
Sure.
ask him for it?
Yeah, so everything's automated in our office as much as possible. So we have a software program that we use that sends out automatic updates to people, if they want to use it. Some realtors don't like our software program, so they prefer an old-fashioned email, or even a phone call sometimes. But generally, all the parties in the transaction are copied on all of the updates for the file. And we don't like asking the agents referring us the business to go out of their way and get the paperwork. But if we need to get it, and you guys are willing to do it, we'll take the help. So yes, the agents are updated throughout the process, absolutely. You have to watch out for sellers who have unrealistic expectations too. Some sellers have unrealistic expectations regarding the closing date. I've talked to homeowners who say, I don't want to close for another year. It's not going to work. Why are you selling your house? Short sales aren't quick, but it's generally not supposed to take a year. And you'll also have to be out when the short sale's approved and the buyer's ready to close. You can't just drag it along forever. So sellers who have open-ended or want to close forever in the future, not going to work. Same thing with sellers who demand relocation incentives. So mortgage companies have been paying something called a relocation incentive for years to homeowners. They've ranged from as little as $750 to as high as $50,000 that I've seen, where the bank is paying the homeowner for doing the short sale and giving them money to relocate. Most of them are around $3,000 to $10,000 in the last few years. Homeowners know this, and they will ask me about it, and I will tell them that I will do my best to get it, but that I can't promise them anything. I can't guarantee it. And anybody who guarantees relocation is lying. You cannot promise anybody relocation money. I had an agent in Pennsylvania who did that. Promised the homeowner relocation until I got the listing. Guess what? Bank said no. Seller refused to close. Agent paid him out of his own pocket, $3,000 to have the deal work. You also want to watch out for properties, and this is actually very important now because I see a lot of this. Properties with scheduled sheriff sale dates. In case anybody's not that familiar with the foreclosure process in here, the sheriff sale is the end. It kind of looks like this room, right? Law clerk stands at a desk, auctions off the properties, the public can bid. If they don't bid high enough, the bank takes it back for $100. Okay? That is the end. If that actually, when a sheriff sale occurs, our clients no longer own that house. A lot of homeowners had buried their head in the sand for years, ignored everything. Now all of a sudden they get a notice that says your property is scheduled for sheriff sale in a month. Now they're calling the realtor, help. And then the realtor's saying call the attorney, and they're saying help. I talked to 2 people yesterday, same exact situation. 2 homeowners, both filed bankruptcy, both had sheriff sales next month, both wanted to do a short sale. It's like, I wish you guys would call me a year ago. Got a lot more time to work with. And I'll still take them on as clients, but I make sure that they understand the chances of success are slim. I have to manage their expectations. A lot of doing short sales is managing expectations. I have to manage my client's expectations. We have to manage the buyer and their agent's expectations. And when there's a scheduled sheriff sale, the expectation is it's probably not going to work.
Well, if we take the listing and we have an offer to purchase, that does not stop the short sale? I mean,
So the only advice I can give is generally speaking, right? Because every file is different. You know, there's different loan types, different banks, different processes, different procedures. But generally speaking, no. Generally speaking, the foreclosure process and the short sale process are concurrent. In fact, even Wells Fargo, if you look up Wells Fargo's guidelines online for short sales, it says the same thing. It says the short sale will not stop the foreclosure. It says you have to work diligently to avoid a sheriff sale date. And they say that if there's a scheduled sale date, we cannot process a short sale. We have to have the offer 30 days before the sale date. Now, I've probably bypassed that once or twice, but it's still a scary thing to think about when you have an FHA short sale with a sheriff sale. They're almost telling you, don't even waste your time. So generally speaking, no. I beg the bank to stop. You know, hey, look, let's work with us. Let's try and move forward with a short sale, but I can't promise that they will. Even with the extensions, homeowner can adjourn a sheriff sale twice for 2 weeks. And to be honest with you, if they really want to go in front of a judge and plead themselves, not their own attorneys, just actually show up and say, hey, look, please give me more time, they're probably going to get it. But it still doesn't mean the bank's got to review the short sale. The bank can still turn it down because there's not enough time. Question?
Yeah, Bill, what happens if your short sale client has the tenants for the lease?
In the context of doing a short sale or in the context of a foreclosure?
Well, in context of doing a short sale.
Well, it would be like any other. It would be like any other transaction that has tenants. Obviously, if they're not paying, you got to get them out. They got to be evicted. But if they're paying tenants and there's a valid lease, you're going to limit your pool of buyers because they're going to have to take it subject to that tenancy. The security deposit will have to transfer at closing, and they'll have to figure something out regarding the apportionment of rent for that month because it can't be on the settlement statement or ALTA. The bank will know how to handle it.
Okay, thank you.
I want to go over some helpful tips regarding the paperwork that I require from agents. This isn't from sellers. I would never require an agent to screen my seller's paperwork. That's what we do. We help the sellers fill out their paperwork. But I do require a minimum amount of paperwork from the agents. I need the contract, I need the listing agreement, I need the MLS printout, and I need proof of buyer's funds. For a cash buyer, that's a bank statement or similar. For a mortgage buyer, it's a pre-qual, and maybe a bank statement for the down payment. All I need you guys to do is double check the information before you send it over. Make sure the contract's signed and dated. Make sure the listing agreement's signed and dated. Make sure both the contract and the listing agreement haven't expired. Now I see you may be looking at me like, you're crazy. Who would send you an expired contract? It happens all the time. Happens all the time. Agents try and get a spouse to sign or an ex-spouse to sign. It takes 30 days. By the time you get it, the contract's already over. The MLS printout needs to be dated within the last 30 days. When you print from your MLS or a similar listing service, there's a date stamp at the bottom from when you print it. It's got to be within the last 30 days. Right? You guys use Paragon or MLS down here?
Paragon.
Paragon, okay. There's a date stamp at the bottom, and it's got to be within the last 30 days. And the address has to match the address in the contract, and the names have to match. You know, if you're concerned that there's a name change or something wrong, ask the seller for their mortgage statement. Look at the names the mortgage company has. That's what they're gonna be looking at. You wanna make sure everything matches. Little things like that can set a short sale back 2 or 3 weeks. You know, a lot of people say, why do short sales take so long? Well, if I send everything into them, and let's say the listing agreement's expired, or the last name in the listing agreement is different than the last name in the contract, and that's different from the mortgage, these things can set you back 2 to 3 weeks. So, all I ask is just to double check the info before you send it over.
Okay.
Buyers, let's talk about buyers. They're a very important part of short sales too. You want to watch, this is going to be a theme you're going to see pop up a couple times throughout this presentation. Do we want to watch out for lowball offers? Lowball offers are a waste of time. There's no other way to describe it. The mortgage company is looking for fair market value or close to it. Lowball offers are not fair market value. I have a lot of agents who will call my office and they'll say, Bill, I got an offer, but it's low. Then why'd you even call? Just tell your client to reject it. Present it to your client like you should, with a recommendation that the attorney and the realtor reject it. Or counter, if you have to. You always want to watch out for lowball offers. It's one of the biggest time wasters in short sales.
Is there like a percentage that may work?
There's no way to tell. I mean, because we don't have any interaction with the bank until there's an actual buyer for the property, we generally won't have much feedback regarding price. So the best thing you can do is do your comps and sell for as much as you can. And if we talked earlier, if the bank blows the valuation, I'll fight them for you. And at least I'll have ammunition, right? If you undersell it, where's my ammunition? What am I going to show you? The deal's going to die.
When an offer is presented, is that reviewed and approved by one single person, or is it a committee that does that?
It depends on the type of loan. I mean, sometimes there are multiple hands in the pot and multiple entities that need to approve. So it depends. Just like sellers have unrealistic expectations, so do buyers. Remember I said the seller who wanted to close in a year? Buyers want to do the opposite. Buyers want to close in a month. I see this in the summertime, when people want to buy homes and have their kids in the school district for the year. They sign short sale contracts in August to close in September. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. That buyer's agent should not be doing that. They should not be showing their clients short sales. Right? I mean, I can do a use and occupancy and get them in the house if I have to, but the short sale is not going to be approved. Buyers like that are a waste of time. You also have buyers, again, going back to closing costs, who expect too much money. You know, remember the 1% rule and the 3% rule we talked about earlier for FHA and conventional assists respectively? I've seen assists that were higher than 6% before. 7, 8, 9% assists. They're never going to work. And the buyer can't close without that money. You know, if you're going to take a seller assist, even if it